5 Formula 1 teams are trying to block Ferrari before their car even hits the track in Monza. Not after seeing it. Before seeing it. Because what Ferrari is hiding inside this test could erase a power deficit of nearly 30 horsepower in a single step. And here is why this is causing panic. A rotating rear wing that completely changes how the car behaves. A redesigned floor built to unlock hidden performance. And a development loophole that could give Ferrari more engine upgrades than anyone else mid-season. If this works, Ferrari doesn't just improve. They flip the entire championship. And everything depends on what happens in just 200 kilometers, behind closed doors in Monza. Ferrari didn't wake up one morning and decide to shock the entire grid. This started with a problem they could not hide. From the very first race, the gap was already there. Australia made it obvious. Mercedes finished 1 and 2. Ferrari followed, but far behind. Over 15 seconds across a single race distance. And that gap wasn't strategy. It wasn't tire wear. It was something much more difficult to fix. Engine power. Because while Ferrari built a car that could handle corners, that could carry speed through technical sections, every time they hit a straight, they lost time. Consistently. Lap after lap. And in Formula 1, that kind of weakness spreads. It doesn't stay contained. China looked better. On the surface, it was progress. A podium. Momentum. A sign that maybe Ferrari was finding answers. But underneath that result, there was tension. Because they still weren't the fastest car. They were managing the gap, not closing it. And then came Japan. And Japan changed the tone completely. Because that was not a competitive weekend. That was exposure. Leclerc on the podium. Hamilton struggling. Same car. Same setup direction. But a clear difference in performance. More than 10 seconds between teammates by the end of the race. And after that, something important happened. Hamilton said it openly. Ferrari is not at the front. Right now, they are the third team. Behind Mercedes. Behind the true pace of the grid. That is not frustration. That is a signal. Because when a driver like Hamilton says that publicly, it means the internal concern is already serious. And inside Ferrari, they understood one thing very clearly. If nothing changed quickly, the season would slip away early. So they didn't wait. They didn't delay. They accelerated everything. An aggressive development plan. Multiple tracks. Continuous testing. Fiorano. Mugello. And finally, Monza. But Monza is different. This is not preparation. This is validation. Everything Ferrari has been building, everything other teams are now reacting to, comes together here. 200 kilometers. That is all they have. No race conditions. No full weekend. Just a limited window to prove that their ideas work in reality. And this is exactly why tension across the grid is rising. Because rivals are not reacting to results. They are reacting to what Ferrari might become. Because if Ferrari solves the one problem that has held them back, then all the pieces they already have suddenly become dangerous. And that is what makes Monza so critical. Not what Ferrari is today, but what they could be immediately after. But what Ferrari is bringing to Monza is not just about fixing the car. It is about redefining how the car behaves. Because the real breakthrough they are chasing is not visible at first glance. It is underneath the floor. And this is where things start to get serious. Most fans focus on wings, on visible parts, on what changes the look of the car. But inside the teams, the floor is everything. It controls airflow. It controls stability. It controls how predictable the car feels at high speed. And right now, that is exactly where Ferrari needs precision. Because their biggest issue is not just power. It is consistency. The car can be fast. Very fast. But not all the time. Not in every corner. Not in every condition. And that is a problem. Because in Formula 1, inconsistent performance is almost worse than being slow. You cannot build strategy around it. You cannot trust it. And drivers feel that immediately. So Ferrari went deeper. They redesigned the floor completely. Not a small update. A fundamental change. Built to increase downforce. Improve airflow underneath the car. And most importantly, stabilize the car in high-speed corners. Because that is exactly where they lost time to Mercedes in Japan. High-speed sections. Long corners. Moments where confidence matters more than raw grip. And this is the key detail. Confidence. Because when a driver trusts the car, everything changes. Braking points. Corner entry. Throttle application. Every input becomes sharper. More aggressive. More precise. And that translates directly into lap time. So this new floor is not just about speed. It is about control. And control is what Ferrari has been missing. But here is where things connect. Because this floor does not work alone. It works with something else. Something much more visible. Something much more controversial. The rear wing. Because the moment you improve stability underneath the car, you unlock the potential to be more aggressive above it. And that is exactly what Ferrari is attempting. The floor gives them the platform. The wing gives them the advantage. One stabilizes. The other attacks. And together, they create something very different from what we have seen so far. But here is the problem. If the floor does not behave exactly as expected, everything else becomes irrelevant. Because the entire concept depends on balance. If the airflow is not correct, if the stability is not there, then the aggressive elements become a risk, not an advantage. And this is why Monza is so critical. Because this is the first time Ferrari will run this full combination in real conditions. Not simulations. Not wind tunnel data. Real asphalt. Real speed. Real feedback. And this is also why rival teams are paying attention. Because they understand something very important. If Ferrari gets the foundation right, then everything built on top of it becomes dangerous. Very dangerous. And that includes the one system everyone is watching. The one system that could change everything in a single straight. Because once the floor gives stability, there is nothing holding that system back anymore. Nothing except one final detail. One final problem Ferrari still has to solve. And if they solve it, then what we've seen so far this season will not matter anymore. That final detail is the reason everything feels so tense right now. Because Ferrari is not trying to improve a normal system. They are trying to make something unstable behave perfectly. The rear wing. Macarena. This is not just an aerodynamic tweak. This is a moving component that changes the entire philosophy of the car in real time. On the straights, it transforms. It reduces drag aggressively. It allows the car to cut through the air with less resistance, which means more speed. But more importantly, more energy. Energy that can be recovered, stored, used again. And this is where the hidden gain appears. Because Ferrari is not just chasing top speed. They are chasing efficiency. And efficiency is what wins over a race distance. But here is where everything becomes fragile. Because the system has to reverse. Every single time before braking. Instantly. Without error. If it delays even slightly, the car enters the corner without the downforce it needs. Rear grip disappears. The balance shifts. And the driver is suddenly fighting the car instead of controlling it. This already happened. Not in theory. In reality. Moments where the system didn't respond in time. Moments where the car became unstable under braking. And that is why this is not just an innovation. It is a risk. A controlled risk. But still a risk. Because in Formula 1, there is no margin for hesitation. Everything happens at the limit. Every corner. Every lap. So now imagine the pressure inside Ferrari. They know the potential. They know what this system can unlock. More straight-line speed. Better energy recovery. A way to compensate for an engine that is still down on power. But they also know the danger. If it fails, even once, the consequences are immediate. And this is exactly why rival teams are reacting now. Because they don't need Ferrari to fail completely. They just need doubt. They just need uncertainty. Enough to trigger questions. Enough to force checks. Enough to delay its approval. Because if this system is questioned, if it is reviewed, if it is slowed down, Ferrari loses momentum. And momentum is everything at this stage of the season. But here is the most important part. The issue Ferrari is facing is not conceptual. It is not that the idea does not work. It is timing. Synchronization. The hydraulic system controlling the wing has to be perfectly aligned with the driver's inputs. Brake, turn, stabilize, all within fractions of a second. And according to what we know, that synchronization has been the main limitation so far. Which leads to one conclusion. They are close. Very close. Close enough to test it seriously in Monza. Close enough to make rivals uncomfortable. Close enough to force a reaction before it even appears on track. And now everything comes down to that moment. Those 200 kilometers. Because if Ferrari fixes that timing issue, if the system behaves exactly as intended, then the advantage is real. Not theoretical. Not simulated. Real. And once it is real, no team can ignore it. No team can stop it. They can only try to respond. And response takes time. Time Ferrari might not give them. So now this is no longer just about development. It is about who gets there first. Ferrari trying to unlock the system. Rivals trying to slow it down. And the outcome will define not just one race, but the direction of the entire season. Because if this works, Ferrari is no longer chasing. They are arriving. And once they arrive, everything changes. But even if Ferrari solves the wing, even if the floor delivers exactly what they expect, even if Monza proves that the car is finally stable, efficient, and fast, there is still one layer left. And this is the one that could change the entire season. Because Ferrari is not just preparing a breakthrough. They are preparing a second phase. A moment where everything resets. And that moment has a name most fans are still overlooking. ADUO. This is not a part. Not something you can see. Not something rivals can directly protest. This is written into the regulations. And that is what makes it so dangerous. Because if Ferrari qualifies for it, they gain something no other top team wants them to have. Freedom. Freedom to develop the engine further. Freedom to improve where they are currently weakest. Freedom to close the gap, legally. Right now, Ferrari is running an engine that is clearly behind. Roughly 30 horsepower down on Mercedes. Enough to lose time on every straight. Enough to shape the entire outcome of a race. But under ADUO, that weakness becomes an opportunity. Because the rules allow additional development if a manufacturer is far enough behind. And Ferrari is right on that edge. Right inside that window. Which means everything that happens next is strategic. Miami becomes more than a race. It becomes an evaluation. Every lap, every sector, every speed trap, all of it feeds into one decision. Does Ferrari qualify or not? And if the answer is yes, then the timeline changes instantly. Because from that point forward, Ferrari is no longer restricted in the same way. They can introduce upgrades to the power unit, improve efficiency, increase output, refine energy deployment, step by step, reducing the gap. And this is where everything connects. Because Ferrari does not need to dominate in Monza. They do not even need to be the fastest in Miami. They just need to stay close. Close enough to remain relevant. Close enough to collect the data they need. Close enough to activate ADUO. Because once that happens, the version of Ferrari we have seen so far disappears, and a new version takes its place. Stronger, more complete, much harder to beat. Now imagine that scenario. The new floor working, the wing finally synchronized, and then more power arriving weeks later. That is not a gradual improvement. That is a transformation. And this is why the reaction from Mercedes and the other teams is happening now.